Roxo Media House.
If somebody can help you win on Saturday, you're crazy not to play those guys.
A perfect day for practice number 5 in Fort Worth, 83 degrees, and the Frogs were getting after it for Sonny Dykes.
This is Frogs Today Daily, Frogs Fall Camp 2022 presented by Dave's Hot Chicken. And here's your host, the voice of the Horned Frogs, Brian Estridge.
Welcome into the Morris practice fields here at TCU, where the Frogs do just wrap up practice number 5. A lot of scrimmage plays here today. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Coach David Beaudin is going to stop by with us. In fact, Coach Beaudin is going to be focused on a couple of different things. He's going to make the offensive line sound exciting. Get ready for that. Jamie Plunkett's going to be by as well. Yeah, he's in that Chandler Morris camp. We know that. In fact, maybe head of it. He's going to be talking about the quarterback situation here. We'll visit with Jamie Plunkett a little bit later on. Sonny address some media. But first, we start the day with some news on the, I'm not going to call it injury front. Guys banged up a little bit. Trey Tomlinson, Beaudin, Dylan Thomas all missed today's practice, or at least part of it, with some minor nicks and bruises. We'll talk about that with Sonny Dykes as he addresses the media. Live from the team room at TCU right now. Here's the head coach, Sonny Dykes.
I thought today was really good. You know, what happens sometimes is you get 4 or 5 in and you get a little bit soft mentally and lose a little bit of your focus and attention to detail. But I thought our guys, didn't do that. And, to me, this was the big indicator. I felt like we'd had 4 really good, solid days. I thought we started a little slow day 1 and just kind of built off of that. So I was really pleased. I think the guys are, have been really excited to practice every day. I think at the end of the day, to me, that's been the biggest pleasant surprise. I think it's just been, they want to get out there and they want to work and they want to practice. They want to get better. And just been really impressed with the overall attitude and the work ethic. And, they're trying to do everything that we ask them to do. And, really honestly pick things up quickly. Been really impressed with the way that they have tried to, pay attention to the little details that we've tried to teach them. And you can see guys improving really from practice to practice. So I've been encouraged by that and, good first week. And I think that, we don't have that many guys missing. We haven't had anything serious at all. And so, we have a couple of little nagging things here and there. But, for the most part, we've stayed healthy. And I think we'll continue to do so. I think they need a day off, so I think it's coming at the right time. We've gone 5 straight. We'll get a break, and then, we'll go 4 straight next week before a day off and kind of go through that routine until we start getting ready to game week. And so, anyway, felt like it was a great start and something certainly we can build off of.
How does the talent level here stack up to other programs that you started?
It's good. I mean, we've got depth. I think that's the thing that we've got. We've got, when you look at the players that we've added, I'm not really disappointed in anybody, and it's early, it's 5 days, but, we have a lot of transfers, and I think every single one of those guys can play a role. And then you start looking at the freshmen, and a lot of those guys I think can play a role. And, with what we had coming back, with a lot of the additions, with the improvement that those guys that were here made in the spring, all of a sudden you look up there and you go, yeah, we've got some depth. Now we're like everybody else in college football. We're 1 or 2 injuries away from, being pretty concerned about some spots. But as of today, I feel good overall. I think that like everybody else in football, I was concerned about our D-line coming in, and I think those guys have been really, really good. I think the guys that needed to take a step have taken a step. I love the attitude in the room. We have a lot of new additions that I think have come in and really been very mature, and they're methodical really in their approach. And so I've enjoyed, watching those guys get up there and compete every day. And we have some really young, talented guys. I mean, those 4 freshmen we got that's going to be a really good group. And so excited about those guys, excited about the new additions as well, with Timon, Lawal, and Caleb, and just the whole group. I just think that, that group's really starting to come together. And the same thing on the back end. I've just been really impressed with, the corner room and the strides those guys have made. And as much as anything else, it's really been about maturity and approach to practice every day and guys handling their business. And I think that room has been much improved.
Does the portal affect how you think about redshirting a player now?
I mean, I wish the answer was no, but the answer is hell yeah. I mean, it just does. You know what I mean? I mean, they're here. You better get what you can out of them. You know what I mean? And I think I wish that wasn't the case, but I think, and kids are different these days anyway. I mean, most of the time they're more ready to play now as freshmen than they were, just because the off-season conditioning. I mean, if you look at Paul and Mike, for example, and Dom, 3D linemen, you look at those three guys and physically they look like they're juniors or seniors, you know what I mean? And so that's the kind of guys that you want to bring into your program. And a big part of that's just the strides they made from the time they reported in June till today. The weight room has been so important for those guys. The extra size and the extra bulk and what they've been able to do in 2 months, I think, has really been impressive. But I think football nowadays is week to week. You know what I mean, when it comes to your roster. And so if somebody can help you win on Saturday, you're crazy not to play those guys. And and bring them along. And I think it just helps your football team. I think from our standpoint, we're practicing the 3 deep all the time right now, and a lot of those guys that are repping with the thirds are going to play a bunch of football for us. I mean, I don't mean a little bit, I mean a lot. And so, that's a good thing. I've seen exactly what I wanted to see. I think I've seen improvement from the spring, and really from all 4 quarterbacks, quite frankly. I think that those guys have really handled themselves well. To me, the next week we'll start to, be able to figure some of that stuff out, maybe a little bit more, than we did this week, because we'll have everything in. We're trying to work all the quarterbacks through with the 1s and 2s and 3s and just, get a good look at them. And I think they're competing hard. I like that room a lot. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's a very unselfish group of guys. And again, I'm really impressed with that. I mean, because, college football these days, I mean, guys are counting reps and guys are doing this and guys are doing that. And this group's not doing that. I mean, these guys are going out competing hard every day. They want to help their team. They want to help their team win. And it just speaks about who they are. And so, I'm excited that there are quarterbacks. I really like the group a lot. And, my hope is that, as we go a little bit further down the road that, you start to see some separation. But we'll sit down as a staff tomorrow and really go through everything and talk about it and make some adjustments if we feel like we need to.
What have you seen from the offensive line through the first week and have they?
I like it's been good. They're strong. I like we're getting movement. I think that's what you want to see. You want to see the line of scrimmage move. And, these guys have done that. I mean, Steve is a really good football player. You just watch him and he plays with great technique. He's a really great leader. I've never been around a good football team that hasn't had a ton of leadership on the offensive line. And I love the way that group is leading. And I think it's led by Steve. And, he's starting to get more vocal and more confident. And those guys are playing with an edge. And I think, if we could continue to do that and just learn to play together, I think they're going to get better and better. I mean, look, there's 10 guys right now, maybe 11 guys fighting for playing time. And that's what you want to see. And that just makes each other better. And so, you sit down and you go, well, is there a first team, second team, third team? I mean, there's not at all. We're going to play a bunch of people. And, our hope is to come out of here with 10 O linemen. And if we come out with 8, we'll feel pretty good. But I think our preference is come out with 10 guys that we feel like we can line up and win with.
That's the head coach of the Horned Frogs, Sonny Dykes, addressing the media after, really the first official week of practice under their belt. Good visit there with the head coach. Sonny Misi's going to stop by a little bit later on in the team room. We'll go back in there. But first, up next, Coach David Beaudin joins us. We're going to make the offensive line sound interesting. He can do that. We're brought to you today by our friends at Dave's Hot Chicken with 2 locations here in Fort Worth, one on Bryant Irvin Road and the other one right near campus. It's Dave's Hot Chicken. And we're back with more Frogs Today Daily after this timeout. Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth. Bryant Irvin Road at I-20 and Barry at Cockrell Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime. Order online at daveshotchicken.com. Back we come here on Frogs Today Daily. A little bit later on, Sonny Misi is going to join us from the team room, the Frog defensive line. Let's start on the other side of the ball, though, as we bring in Coach David Beaudin from our Dissecting the Frogs. By the way, you got one coming up Monday with Jeff Jordan, Director of Player Personnel here at TCU, right?
Sure do. Was excited about it. Had a great conversation with him. He brought a lot to the table. I think the guys are really going to enjoy this one.
All right, it's coming up on Monday. Let's talk offensive line, right? I want you to try to make offensive line exciting for folks. And you know what? I say that jokingly because, let's face it, this has a chance to be a strength for this team. It also is of the utmost importance. We know that as offensive lines go, so go teams. Give me a sense of where this group is right now.
I'll tell you what. I mean, I think, it sounds cliche, but I would say that they would admit that they're ahead of schedule, right? I think one of the things that jump out, they've played with different lineups. Over the last 2 days, it's stayed consistent. They've had a starter nicked up, nothing serious. But regardless of who's in there, and Coach Dykes talked about it today, has about, we just listened to it, 11 guys right now in the mix, which is pretty good at this time of year to have those guys in the fold. Done a great job in pass protection. The first week of camp to be able to give the quarterbacks that much time. It looks like they're pretty vanilla on defense, but again, Coach Dykes said, hey, we're not holding back at all. We're throwing it all at them. If we make some mistakes, we'll learn from it. They've done a really nice job taking care of these quarterbacks early on.
Coach Rickard talked to us earlier in the week, and he talked about the fact that everybody's got to be interchangeable, that it's 5 moving parts, chess pieces, that you're not locked in at center, you're not locked in at guard, you're not locked in at tackle.
Right. I think he kind of takes the total pole approach, right? Play your 5 best. That's why you see a lot of guys snapping out there. Wants to get as many centers as possible. That way there you're not just plugging in, hey, just because he's a left guard, he plays. No, we're going to play our 6 best and so on. And you can see that out there. I mean, they're working different spots, and they'll get settled in a little bit as they get into game week. But for now, I think this really adds to their depth and versatility for sure.
Coach Dykes was talking about the leadership that Steve Avila is providing already for that group particular in that room, and it's good. That is a huge advantage when you got a senior back in that spot at center, a guy who's played so many snaps, who's going to play at the next level. That means a great deal, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and you can see it. You can hear it out there from him. Even just in these past 5 practices, he's become a lot more vocal over the past 5 days, and it's nice to see him kind of off to the side, helping out some of the young guys, and that's a sign of true leadership, and taking the time to bring those guys along. I agree with you. It's a great sign.
All right, I'm going to nitpick here and tell me if I'm just making up something to worry about, and I wouldn't say necessarily worry about. A left-handed center throws me off sometimes. Should it throw me off?
Well, it's different, all right? I mean, you think back to, and maybe this is not a complete comparison, but I think of Jerry Rice when he made the quarterback switch from Montana to Young, right? Yeah. Well, that whole offseason he had somebody throw to him that was a left-hander, right? Mm-hmm. I know taking a shotgun snap's a little bit different, but it's just another thing, right, for those quarterbacks. They've got Ali as well, coming over from SMU, and so you might see him, at center as well, and because we all know that Steve can go to guard, and it was a great guard. So, I think it's minor. I think it's something that you work through and just in repetition like anything else. I think it's probably just more visually, just a little bit different for us.
Although, as a coach, I would always want a left-footed punter. Because I think that is different, and that throws off the returner.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no question. When the ball's going the other team,
I want a left-footed punt.
Absolutely.
Find me one, right? Yeah, there we go. All right, Dave, thanks for coming by, man.
Yes, sir.
Always good stuff. So, Dissecting the Frogs, Monday, Jeff Jordan, you're talking to him. We'll get a little insight into how they put the roster together, right?
You got it. That's right.
All right. It's going to be fun. He'll be with us all year long, of course, breaking down plays here, also breaking down opponents, and keeping us up to date on the recruiting front as well. Jamie Plunkett's next. Yeah, he's in the Chandler Morris quarterback camp, maybe president of it. We'll find out how he's doing with that when we come back after this timeout. With Frogs Today Daily continues here.
The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richard's Rainwater. Richard's rainwater is 100% rain, refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water, and rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth. Bryant Irvin Road at I-20 and Barry at Cockrell Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today Show and get 10% off anytime. Order online at daveshotchicken.com. Back we come here on Frogs Today Daily, presented by our friends at Dave's Hot Chicken. Don't forget to mention Frogs Today at Dave's Hot Chicken. You'll get 10% off. We're headed to lunch there a little bit later on. Jamie Plunkett is alongside right now. You can check him out at frogstoday.com. Before I get into the quarterback situation, real quick, you heard Coach Dykes just a second ago mention Trey Tomlinson, Beaudin, Dylan Thomas, all sidelined today. Nothing major, we don't think, on any of these?
Nothing major on any of those. Dykes even mentioned that Dylan Horton has been out with a foot issue the last few days.
Dylan Thomas? I may have. Yeah, Dylan Horton, yeah.
Dylan Horton. He said he could have probably gone the last 2 days, but they wanted to keep him out just to make sure he was fully healed, and he should be back to practice on Monday. Same with Trey Tomlinson, who's been dealing with a little bit of ankle soreness. Should be back on Monday, and Beaudin as well should be back on Monday. Yeah. So it's been really impressive through the first week of camp. Dykes has said they've stayed really healthy, and they haven't had any major injuries yet.
It was just a hamstring tweak, I think, is what he said. Yeah, right. All right, let's dive into the quarterback situation. We were joking earlier that you're president of the Chandler Morris one, and because we've all been debating, okay, who's it going to be, and it's really hard to tell. In fact, Coach Dykes talked about that. I'm waiting for one to emerge, and we saw both of them running with the ones again today, right?
Yeah, they've done a really good job. The coaching staff has of making sure that both Max and Chandler get enough opportunity with the first team. I think personally that maybe Chandler has started to separate himself just ever so slightly, which was the same situation in the early spring as well, and Max came on and had a really good second half of spring ball, and so that's definitely possible as well. But like Dykes said, he's looking forward to maybe some separation happening next week so that they can start to really see who the number one quarterback is going to be.
Both of them made plays today. Both of them benefit from a really good wide receiving core, and both of them can get out of the pocket and move. But the guy who does it better than them is Sam Jackson, another guy you said don't sleep on, right?
Sam Jackson is a really dynamic runner. If he ever figures out where the ball is going when he lets it go, he's going to be a great quarterback. But Dykes has said multiple times throughout spring and fall that they're going to try and figure out a way to get Sam Jackson on the field a little bit. He's called him a secret weapon already, and so I would be shocked if they didn't have maybe a special set of plays that Sam's going to run. Yeah,
we were talking earlier with David Beaudin about the fact that defense has had a pretty good couple of days, but you get the sense, though, that this offense already has a bit of a rhythm to it, doesn't it?
It does, and I think that comes from the top down offensive staff that we have in place now. For so long under Gary Patterson, defense always came first, and so that's always kind of what we heard about and always what we saw, and it's the exact opposite now. And so with Dykes' offensive understanding and with the staff that he's got in here, it's no surprise that the offense maybe has a leg up right now.
And by the way, it's also interesting too when you have an offensive head coach how practice is different, as opposed to when it's a defensive head coach. The scrimmages take place on the offensive field, right?
Oh yeah,
and not on the defensive
field.
Yeah,
and you notice too that Dykes mentioned it today that they were running the full playbook on defense, but that's not.
Yeah, right.
Maybe a little bit of an exaggeration there so far.
Maybe not bringing the house.
Yeah.
Real quick, your final thought here, your assessment on 5 days in. What do you think so far?
I think that there's undoubtedly talent across this roster. The question is how quickly can they get everything installed on both sides of the ball, and really at some of those key positions, specifically quarterback on the offensive side and free safety in that second corner spot on the defensive side of the ball. Who's going to step up in those roles and really provide some leadership for both sides that maybe will lead this team to a successful fall?
Everywhere else you heard Sonny Dykes mention depth has been a plus for this team here early on. All right, check him out at frogstoday.com. Jamie Plunkett will keep you up to date there. We're going to go to the interview room right now. Coach Dykes was talking earlier about the defensive line, how he liked that room, how he liked the depth there. Sonny Misi is a guy who's gotten new life at defensive line for the Horned Frogs, and he's with the media right now.
It's been great. You can tell this is a whole new team. Coach Dykes and his staff really turned this team around, I feel like. You can tell the difference in the environment, the atmosphere, everything. It's great. We're finishing up installing the whole defense. I think everybody's starting to lock in and really understand it. We're all real close, or we're getting really close. We're starting to hang out more with not just have little groups, but as a whole D-line. Those dudes are so funny, it's crazy. I think it'll show my ability as a run stopper, and it'll expose my pass rushing, but I'm going to get that over. I'm not worried about that. So our offensive line got so much better since when I first got here. I mean, all those guys got way bigger, way stronger, faster. I think we could be the best D-line in the nation. I really believe that. It's just a matter of locking in, understanding the defense, and really taking control of it. I was nervous about that three front in the beginning, but I think it suits me good. I'm ready to take it on.
That's Sonny, the Frog defensive lineman, the Californian, joining us there from the interview room. That's going to do it for this weekend edition of Frogs Today Daily. Now, a couple of notes to remind you of. Coming up Monday, we'll be back here with another Frogs Today Daily. Also Monday is a new edition of Dissecting the Frogs with Coach David Beaudin. He'll have Jeff Jordan, the player personnel director for Sonny Dykes' team, on with him on Monday. Right now, we want you to check out at frogstoday.com the latest edition of The Big Boy, the hour-long Frogs Today that airs every week. Desmond Bain, the NBA star, and Kadivas Robinson, the new track and field coach, they headline this week's show at Frogs Today. Check that out on the website. And don't forget to subscribe to us on the YouTube channel. That's very important, folks. Subscribe to us at frogstoday.com. Subscribe on the YouTube channel. Keep you up to date with everything going on TCU-wise. All right? We're going to take tomorrow, Sunday, off. Back with you Monday for another edition of Frogs Today Daily. We give a very special thank you to Jamie Plunkett and to David Beaudin, also to Coach Sonny Dykes and Sonny Misi for stopping by, and all of our crew here who helped make this possible at the Morris practice fields. Until we see you on Monday, we're headed to lunch. Our producer Jay's getting the number 5 today, he says, in honor of LT. It's Frog through and through. See you Monday.
Frogs Today Daily, presented by Dave's Hot Chicken, is a production of Roxo Media House. Roxo Media House.